Can everyone see that?
Mhm.
And folks can hear me okay?
Sounded good.
Sounds good. Hi, Chelsea.
Hello. All right, so welcome to Berkshire Green Drinks. This event is organized by Berkshire Environmental Action Team, also known as BEAT. My name is Chelsea Simmons and I'm BEAT's Programs Director. If you don't already know about us, you can find out much more on our website, thebeatnews.org. Also on our website, you will find a community calendar with events that other organizations and individuals have sent us. You'll also find an environmental jobs board, just with regional job postings. And then twice a month, we go through the state's environmental monitor, and we just compile a list of big projects that we think everyone should be keeping an eye on. And then there's also a page of public notices for Hampshire, Hampton, Franklin, and Berkshire County. And those are they're mainly notices for Conservation Commission meetings coming up, but there are other ones in there as well. And then also on our website, you'll find a donate page. B is a 501c3 nonprofit. So that means all of our funding comes from grants and generous donations. So programs like this one, Berkshire Green Drinks, and really all of our educational programs are only possible thanks to those who support us. So if you'd like to donate to BEAT, there are many ways to do so, and you can find out so much more about that on our donate page. And thank you. I just wanted to highlight a couple of exciting events coming up soon. We have our 14th annual Berkshire Biodiversity Day taking place next weekend. It's also known as Berkshire BioBlitz, and that's happening at the two Greenagers properties in South Egremont, April Hill, and Bow Wow Woods. This is a community event. It's free and open to the public. And its purpose is to identify as many living organisms as possible within 24 hours. There will be experts and scientists joining us to survey species. All are welcome to join at any time. We're going to have scheduled walks and demonstrations. There'll be presentations. Folks can stop by also to record a survey of their findings, and just experience firsthand just the importance of a healthy and active ecosystem here in Berkshire County. We have a few presentations this year. Charlie Eisman is presenting on leaf mining insects, and that's taking place on Saturday at 7 p.m. And then John Wheeler, a Berkshire native, will talk about mushrooms and fungi and their role in the ecosystems on Saturday at 3:30 p.m. And then we have Elisa Fassler, a UMass graduate student, talking about native bees. And she's also going to go into some of her ongoing PhD research. And she's also leading a wild bee walk on Saturday, I think at 12:30. But again, there's a detailed schedule on berkshirebioblitz.org. We have Joseph Warfel talking about spiders and other arachnids. And then after the closing remarks on Sunday, Greenagers is hosting a community celebration with food trucks from 1 to 3 p.m. at April Hill. All are welcome and the food is free. So it'd be great to have everyone there for all of this. But again, you can find out more on berkshirebioblitz.org. Next month, Tom Tyning is going to speak about snakes at our October Berkshire Green Drinks event. That's taking place on Monday, October 16th. The in-person gathering will be at Williams Inn in Williamstown. If the weather is nice, it'll be outside. And then there will also be a virtual component as well. And I think that's all I have for you. So I'm going to hand it off to Andrew and he can introduce himself a little bit more.
Awesome. Thank you, Chelsea. Give me just a moment to share my screen. Can everyone see the presentation okay?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. And can everyone hear me okay? Great. All right, so as Chelsea said, I'm Andrew. I'm the current program manager for the Berkshire Zero Waste Initiative. BZWI, as we call it for short, is one of BEAT's many programs. So I have the pleasure of working with Chelsea and Jane on a day-to-day basis. So Chelsea invited me to give this talk to give a bit of an overview of some of the projects that I've been working on along with members of the community, to share some information about the recycling programs that we offer, and to also share some ways that you as individuals can get involved and reduce your personal waste, in addition to working at a systemic level. So I'm going to start off with two different projects that we've been working on. The first has been related to reducing waste in grocery stores. And this is actually something that we've been working on, or I've been working on with some great people from Sheffield Saves, the Lee Greener Great Way Committee, and the Egremont Green Committee. So we collectively have identified grocery stores as just one of the many sources of waste across the county and in our kind of world. And we've also identified Big Y specifically as one place that we can start hopefully making a difference. So Big Y has already been a leader in many ways in sustainability. They compost in their stores. At some locations have installed EV charging for customers. They've done big projects on energy efficiency. And we thought that this would be a great organization to start working with. So in reaching out to the 4 locations in Berkshire County, we've been connected with store directors and actually at the corporate level, the senior manager of environmental social governance, which has led us to start making some actions in reducing plastic specifically. So I published recently a article in the Berkshire Edge. Some of you might remember a survey that we circulated around asking how shoppers use plastic produce bags, and getting their perspective on reusable produce bags, and also what times it's appropriate to go without a bag altogether. And that was something that we received a lot of responses over, and a lot of comments even after the fact, which was really great. And we were able to receive feedback, not just on the plastic produce bag issue, but on a lot of other areas of waste that people find important, which we're able to continue taking to Big Y and to the corporate level to show that this is something that matters and that people care about. Another thing that I've been working on very recently is getting reuse to the Berkshires. So when BZWI was started, there was a focus already on working with restaurants to reduce waste. And this is just another factor of that. So we have a lot of great restaurants here in the Berkshires, and there's a lot of pressure in the restaurant world and in the food world to switch to reusable containers, diningware, silverware instead of disposable. But this is a really difficult switch for restaurants to make. It can be cost intensive. It requires a lot more management and can even present a burden on both customers and food service workers trying to implement a program where takeout is properly stored in reusable containers. Containers are brought back in a timely manner, are washed. So working with Susan Abrams, who is on the Williamstown Cool Committee, she actually brought to my attention a company based in Boston that helps to take some of this burden off of restaurants. So what we're doing right now is we're continuing to do outreach to restaurants in the Berkshires, and hopefully we'll be starting a pilot program soon, so that you can get takeout in reusable containers and start eliminating some of the waste that we have. So aside from waste reduction programs, which I love working on, I also have been working on recycling programs and offering ways to responsibly get rid of our waste to the community. So you may already know about BEAT's textile and battery recycling, programs. So textiles, along with mattresses, were introduced as a statewide waste ban that went into effect in November of 2022. And lots of towns in response, and BEAT as an organization, have hosted the donation bins outside of our office building and in towns outside of municipal buildings. And this is great because textiles, this is why that they were why they were included in the ban. Textiles are actually very highly reusable. So a lot of the times, if you consider what clothes that you're getting rid of, they're perfectly wearable. They might have a stain or a rip that could be easily repaired. And they're typically still quite high quality and can be reconstructed into other textile-based things. So they have a high value as recyclables. Same thing with batteries. So BEAT offers battery recycling through Call to Recycle is the company. And batteries are another item that is banned in a lot of traditional waste streams because of the hazardous components that they have. And these are another high value recovery item because they can be taken apart in the right setting, and those materials can be used to create new batteries, to create new items. Small electronics, we've recently partnered with a company called EcoCell, and they are very mission oriented, just like us at BEAT, focused on recycling phones and other small electronics in order to recover precious minerals and metals to reduce the mining that takes place in areas of conflict, like the Congo, which impacts not only human well-being and welfare in these areas of conflict, but also natural ecosystems and some of the most charismatic species like gorillas that are put in danger because of this habitat destruction. And another item that we have is bread tag recycling. So these little plastic tabs that come on your bread loaves, bags of bagels, some vegetable bags even. This is a really cool organization based out west that was actually started by a high schooler who recognized that these small plastic tags might be worth something. And so they are actually collected and sold to recycler in bulk. And those proceeds are used to buy mobility devices like wheelchairs for children in need, which is a really great cause that we can accomplish through recycling. All right. Now, this is where we get into some of our more complex recycling programs. So some of you in the audience may have heard about this company, Terracycle. Their goal, as I have written here, is to recycle the unrecyclable. So they are kind of famous for having these free recycling programs where they can take back all sorts of items and products that aren't recyclable through traditional means. You can't put them in your curbside bin or take them to your transfer station. This is a great way to divert waste, but it is not a way to reduce waste. So if you think about this and other recycling programs, really, you're transitioning the waste from the straight to landfill or straight to incinerator kind of stream. But it's still waste. It's still a product that you're getting rid of. It's still something that you are done with and has outlived its designed usefulness. So these programs specifically are actually funded by the companies that make these products. You can see on the list to the left, this is a pretty exhaustive list of all of the programs that BZWI does participate in and does collect for the community. So all of these items, most of them are branded. So you can see like Colgate, Gillette, Brita, these are all companies that have paid Terracycle to start these collections, collect them for free. And then we do actually, there's opportunity for nonprofits and schools to earn money from the collections that they make. So that's something that BEAT and BZWI do participate in. We do get a very minimal, but some funds back from what we recycle, which is why we like to promote these programs. But at the bottom line, like I said, these aren't a solution to waste. You are still producing the waste, no matter where it ends up and no matter how it gets dealt with. So I feel strongly that we continue to offer these programs as an educational tool and as a way to get our foot in the door of people can see, wow, we can recycle this item. And then they might get interested in the waste issue. They might get interested in, well, what can I do to avoid having this waste item in the first place? So that brings me to my next slide. These kinds of plastic swaps or product swaps, you can find them all over the place. They're everywhere on the internet, on social media. It can be vogue to go zero waste these days. But so some examples directly from our recycling programs that we offer that we want to encourage people to switch is batteries here, for example. Reusable, rechargeable batteries have come a long way since the technology was first introduced. They're very durable, they last a long time, and they don't take that long to charge. So that's one way in which you can swap from something that is disposable and single use to something that is reusable and can be used multiple times. Other examples where you can opt for something that is maybe still disposable, but it has less packaging or less plastic involved. And we know that plastic is one of the hardest materials to genuinely recycle. So for example, you can do that with your toothpaste or your toothbrushes. There are bamboo toothbrush options. There are toothpaste tablets that can come in jars or cardboard packaging. There are also, I think, pastes that come in jars, so it's still a wet paste, but not in the plastic tube. For things like cleaning products and personal care items like soap and shampoo and bath salts and anything like that, there are a lot of refill options. You can go to a store and buy them in bulk, even bring your own container and fill them up. You can also look at making your own versions of these things. You know, a traditional household cleaner can really easily be made from just water and lemon juice or vinegar. And then here in this bottom right corner is kind of where I want to move us to. That's one of the most important things. So a lot of the times plastic straws are painted as the undesirable number one in discussions of waste. We hear over and over again that say no to straws, straws are hurting turtles and things, and these are completely true. Plastic straws are definitely damaging. But this is a way in which greenwashing can kind of sneak into the very real conversations about environmental impact of products. So again, you can find these informational infographics and tips everywhere of how to reduce waste, and they'll suggest you can use glass straws, you can use stainless steel straws, biodegradable straws. And these are an instance in which there are lots of other more sustainable options presented. But if you think about it, the most sustainable option is to just go without a straw in the first place. Very few of us need plastic straws or need any type of assistance while drinking. There are certainly many of us who do, but if you don't, and you don't strongly desire to have the experience of drinking through a straw, it's easier to just go without, and it's better for the planet to just go without. So coming back to some of the bigger ideas that I want to talk about and recognize is that recycling is important. We hear a lot about how recycling isn't working, recycling isn't as effective as you think it is. And this is true in some ways, but the benefits of recycling are very real. So for your standard items, your aluminum cans, your plastic bottles, paper, definitely. When you recycle, it reduces the emissions associated with producing new materials from completely virgin sources. It reduces the possibly toxic matter that ends up in our environment if it's littered, landfills and incinerators, if it's trashed. And we know that even when things end up in landfills or incinerated, that does end up in our environment. Toxins leach out of landfills, off-gassing from incinerators affects air quality. So when we recycle and are able to process these materials, we can remove toxins and reuse them if necessary. And it can recover valuable resources to lessen the demand for new production. So if you are able to, recycle your aluminum can back into an aluminum can, we don't have to go bauxite mining and cause even more environmental degradation. So recycling is important. However, our priority should be on waste prevention. As I said before, recycling is a method of waste diversion, but it's not a factor of reducing waste in the first place. So one of the things that is talked about a lot is remembering that the reduce, reuse, recycle saying is supposed to go in order. So reducing is the first most impactful thing, reusing is second most impactful, and recycling is kind of a last resort as a solution. Along with this are some other principles that I want to pass on and have everyone keep in mind as they look at their own lives, and as you look at the waste that you're creating and how you might change that. Recognize that the most environmentally friendly product is the one that you already own. This is another thing that comes up in greenwashing a lot, is you can hear that, oh, your plastic hairbrush, for example, it's made of plastic, it's might be toxic, it's not recyclable, all of these things. And a lot of these things are true. But if you go out and buy a brand new hairbrush made out of bamboo, you still have that plastic hairbrush that you've already invested in. You've already, it's already emitted all of the greenhouse gas emissions associated with producing that hairbrush. And if it's not recyclable, it's still going to end up in landfill or incinerator. So you want to use what you already have and really take pride in the things that you already own. Be a good caretaker to your objects. A lot of things are so easily replaceable that we forget that we can repair them, we can reuse them, we can alter them to suit our needs. If you have a skirt, for example, that is now too big because you lost weight, you can alter that skirt. You can still wear it. You can give it to someone else. It doesn't have to be seen as waste, because a lot of times it isn't waste. It's just the way that we look at and assign value to things. And then again, when you are buying new things, when you do have to finally buy something, look for less packaging and less plastic. A lot of the times these go hand in hand because most packaging is plastic. But those are kind of the priorities for when you buy something, when you have to buy something new. And then the last thing that I have here and that I really want to drive home is that one of the best ways to solve any type of problem, but in this case, our waste problem, is by being a member of your community. So this means a lot of things. It's a mindset shift of thinking about how you are part of an other rather than just yourself and only looking out for you and yours. But it also is a very kind of concrete directive. So look in your community and see, is there a swap shop? Is there a sharing service? Do you have a free cycle, for example? It's a item sharing website set up. Does your local library have a library of things? Do you have a repair cafe or a repair event that happens? These are ways in which you can connect with your community, share knowledge, share resources, and help each other in very concrete ways. And when people get together, that's when real big change happens. So if you are at a book club meeting, for example, at your local library, and you're reading about the waste problem, and you all decide that this is something that's really important to fix, that's when change happens. You get together and you go to your local government. I think community is a very unemphasized solution to the waste problem and other environmental problems. So that's everything that I have for you tonight. I wanted to speak briefly, so I hope that there's enough time for lots of questions and any comments. And then I also want to encourage anyone to reach out. My email there is on the screen. You can also look up Berkshire Zero Waste on Instagram or Facebook, or go to this website here. The website is currently under construction, but it'll soon be a great space for resources and to hear even more about what we're working on. So thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Andrew. That was great. If anyone has any questions, feel free to put them in the chat. Raise your hand with the little button, or you can even just unmute yourself and ask.
Stephanie, go ahead. Hi, a great presentation, Andrew. It was really wonderful. Not sure if this is about recycling. It is about prevention, that there are some legislative bills that we can write to our representatives about. Right now, there's one, it's called H887 for the House, and for the Senate, it's 443. It's about the distribution of plastic straws, and it's a no-brainer. You can get a plastic straw, you just have to ask for it. It won't automatically be given out by the server. So, you know, being on top of legislation also, I think, helps. I think people are very motivated by that. So again, thank you, Andrew. Wonderful presentation.
Yeah, thank you so much, Stephanie. And for anyone who doesn't know, Stephanie is actually one of the leaders of Sheffield Saves and is working on these problems and these projects that I've spoken about tonight. So thank you so much for sharing that.
Thank you.
We have a few questions in the chat, Andrew. Do you want me to read them to you, or do you want to?
Sure, if you don't mind.
Yeah, of course. All right, so Jane answered the first one. I was just about
Yeah, but you ought to get everybody to hear it.
so are all batteries recycled or just the lithium ones? And Jane said almost all, not car or motorcycle batteries.
Yeah, so that includes alkaline batteries as well.
And then Ruby Chang is wondering, have you worked with local town government to push these ideas such as DPW?
Yeah, so one of my actual hometown, New Marlborough, I'm working with their transfer station working group, and we were looking at ways to make the transfer station more efficient. I haven't worked with governments in terms of creating legislation. It's more been streamlining things that are already happening and encouraging good practices, but that's definitely something that I think we should all do and that I hope to do in the future.
And then Donald Munger is asking, are you aware of any place to recycle propane tanks like from barbecues, like grill tanks?
That's a hard one. I know that they're not accepted at most household hazardous waste collections. So what I would suggest is reaching out to your local transfer station or Department of Public Works. They might be able to give you a specific answer. And if you don't find an answer, I can also do some more research and some more digging to figure out a solution.
I know that with like small propane tanks for like camping grills, like portable camping grills, there are some locations, and I can't name any off the top of my head, but there are some locations that will take those back if they sell them.
Mm.
So I'm not sure if there's a similar thing with larger tanks or not. Isn't it possible to also get those just you're able to reuse those a lot of times, right? You can just get them refilled. Jane's nodding her head.
Yeah, and I've been told that if you take them to be refilled and they can't be refilled, sometimes the places that do refill them will take them anyway for proper disposal or such. Also, I haven't tried it, but I wonder if you could take it to a metal recycler like Perlman's in Pittsfield and whether they would accept them.
It's a good thought. Pat Steele is wondering about legislation on styrofoam in Massachusetts.
I don't know of any at the moment. Massachusetts is definitely behind in our waste bans and especially in our extended producer responsibility laws. So ensuring that if an item is put on a waste ban, like a mattress, that the burden of taking care of it is put on the people that made it. So I don't know of any current bills that are dealing with styrofoam at the state level. I know, and I'm not sure if you're talking about recycling or about use of it. So like use as like styrofoam cups, for example. I know that Williamstown has an ordinance that prevents the use of styrofoam for restaurants and takeout, for example. But yeah, that's the information I have.
Pittsfield has the styrofoam ban as well.
I think most Berkshire towns do. I don't know if that's actually the case. That's just from what I've noticed.
I know a lot of restaurants are voluntarily removing styrofoam.
Hester Bellmans is wondering If we collect bread bag clips, who do we send them to, or where do we drop them off?
Yes, so you can definitely drop them off at the beat office, 20 Chapel Street in Pittsfield. Hopefully open to the public very soon. And also you can reach out to, if you want to send them directly to the charity, Beat collects them kind of just as a middleman and we ship them off. But I can get you the direct address. You can also look up the organization Danielle Cares for Chairs online. I think on Facebook they have their address that you can send it to.
Any thoughts on how to reduce the use of clamshells and other plastic packaging for grocery stores?
So this is, sorry for the big sigh. This is something that we've talked about a lot in kind of our strategy with approaching Big Y. And it's definitely something that I think has been made worse by COVID as people are have been and are more concerned about food safety. Plastic is seen as a very easy kind of shorthand for sanitation and cleanliness, and no one has touched this food before. And it's definitely a tricky one because what can you replace it with? In the case for like baked goods, I definitely think that there's an option for just removing the packaging altogether. So if you think in a grocery store, the bakery items like bagels and muffins that are made in-house, letting people just take those from the bins and put in a paper bag if necessary. And then other situations, so maybe prepackaged foods and goods, that's really a vendor issue. So encouraging stores to change where they source their products from, or at least expand their products to be in packaging that is less plastic heavy. And then also, you know, considering prepared food like hot bar, like wing bars in grocery stores, or pre-made food behind the deli counter. That would be a great opportunity for introducing reusable containers. In some cases, that might still be plastic, but it would be less wasteful overall, and I think a step in the right direction to begin with. So these are all things that we definitely hope to explore and continue pushing. We're talking with Big Y, but the option is open to speak with any grocer. So if you have suggestions or if you want to get started on that yourself, we can definitely discuss.
How about things like what if people are going to a restaurant? How do they have an impact to make the restaurant change their ways?
Yes. So if you're ordering drinks, for example, I always say no straw. I don't know if I go to a restaurant, I don't know if they automatically give you a straw or if some restaurants even open it up and put it in your drink for you. So I just say while I'm ordering, no straw, please. And that can be something that, you know, it just changes your experience in the moment, but it gets servers thinking about it, and it might eventually get up the line. And then later you can call them, or you can write a review, or you can, you know, contact. A lot of them are actively seeking feedback and consumer feedback, and say, you know, I'm really concerned about this problem. I'm really concerned about this issue, and it would be great if you just changed your practices. A lot of these are really easy, considering New York's example of the skip the stuff law. It's mostly just a function of not automatically giving people these disposable items. In many cases, they're still available if you want them, but not assuming that you need them. Also, another little like tip is if you're going to a sit-down restaurant and you think you might have leftovers, I am almost always never able to finish my meal. You can bring your own container and put your leftovers in your own container. A lot of the times, bring your own container is an issue when it goes back into the kitchen, or when people who are actually employed in the food service have to touch your container, which doesn't have to happen. You can just skip the part of asking for a doggy bag or a take-home container and put it in your own yourself, package it up yourself, and still enjoy your food later.
I often just constantly carry like a reusable cup and silverware and stuff like in my car or in my backpack. So just having extras of those that you can easily put in your pockets of your car bag or something is a good idea.
Yeah, that's great. I have a little like silverware set that I didn't even buy. I just took from my house, which I know my mom's on the call listening, so maybe I shouldn't have said that, but I have that in my car, just in case.
If you're going through the airport, remember to take the knife out of your set before you go through the airport. I no longer have a knife.
Very good tip.
I think there's one more question in here. Donald asked, I would like to start or see if someone has started an organization to revert to selling every consumable item sold in glass containers only and ban plastic altogether, like milk, water, etc., all consumables. Have you heard of any organizations like this?
Yes. So this is I've heard of businesses that are already operating under this kind of system. So if you can you can Google anything, but there are concepts called like reuse stores or zero waste stores that are all over the place. And as it becomes more popular, I know that those are kind of coming closer and closer to home. So for example, the co-ops in the county, Guido's, they'll offer a lot of maybe not completely zero waste in the store, but they have a lot of options, refill options. I know that there's actually a new refill store in Great Barrington that you can bring your own container to for cleaning products and for like health and beauty products. And then if you see from the organization standpoint, there are some great other organizations like Beyond Plastics, Upstream, that are all pushing for refillable systems and going back to a refillable mindset. If you're interested in learning kind of what products specifically you can get around here, I know, for example, Burley Farm yogurt, if you are able to find that has a deposit system, and that's pretty close to home. So there's definitely a comeback of those kinds of things. There's also at the very, very high corporate level, bigger companies have mail back programs for products. So you buy their product online and they send you that container, and when it's empty, you mail it back and they send you a new one. These I'm kind of hesitant to advocate for because that's a lot of mailing back and forth, a lot of unnecessary transportation. But it's definitely becoming more and more popular. And I think we'll be able to see that here, even in a rural area very soon.
Awesome. I think that's all the questions. There are many comments.
Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of great comments.
Yeah, folks are applauding your efforts, saying how great the presentation was.
A good note about black plastic.
I don't even think I saw that one. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, just so everyone knows, why is black plastic especially bad?
So black plastic is not sortable in recycling facilities. So even if it's the size and shape and resin code of something that should be recyclable, it won't be picked up by the scanning technology, and is just trash. No one wants it.
Does anyone have any other questions? Ruby Chang is asking, stores can sell glass containers that are reweighed and can be refilled for things that can be bought in bulk?
Yes. So this is, I know for sure that the co-op in Great Barrington does this. I know that Guido's does this. Wild Oats in Williamstown, and the new refill store in Great Barrington. So the way it normally works, it's different for every store, but you either bring your own container in, or you can purchase a container, a glass container, a reusable container at that store. And they'll have a scale by the bulk area usually, where you weigh it, you write on your container how much the container itself weighs, fill it with whatever product. Usually it's grains or some kind of loose dry good, or it might be like cleaning products, shampoos, things that can be pumped out into a jar. And they'll have a code that you write on the container as well. So when you get to the checkout, the cashier knows the weight of your container to subtract from the total weight and the code of what you're buying. So in places that allow it, you can bring your own container or purchase a container and then reuse it over and over again, which is, the ideal situation, in my opinion.
I know the plant connector in North Adams also does soap and things like that. I haven't actually done it myself, but I'm assuming it's a similar system.
Yes, I actually used to go there. Before I graduated from MCLA, I would buy my laundry detergent from there in bulk. So yeah, a lot of great things like that. I think cleaning and personal care supplies are usually easier. They might not have to deal with a food safety kind of standpoint. So you might be able to find those like more places. And does anyone else know of any other locations that I might have missed? Thank you for calling out the plant connector.
Yeah, Emily's doing great work there. Awesome. Any other questions? We have a few more minutes here before we wrap things up.
I had one other thought, that I would like to get everybody to go to their town and ask them to install either water fountains or water refill stations at every park. Certainly growing up, there were always water fountains everywhere, and I never brought a water bottle. Now I do everywhere.
I know, I'm not sure exactly who is involved in it, but I know when Great Barrington had their plastic bottle ban, we saw a great movement, GB on tap, to install refillable like water refill stations and things like that, which is awesome.
And Lee has had a big push as well.
And on the same line, recycling bins. A lot of parks, a lot of municipal areas, they'll have trash, but they won't have recycling bins, which again, recycling is still important.
And it does actually exist.
Yes, it does happen.
Well, great. If nobody has any other questions, I guess we'll end it. Thank you so much, Andrew.
Thank you. And thanks everyone for joining.
Awesome job. And thank you all also. Good job.
All right. I hope everyone has a good night. Thanks for joining us. Bye.